became more soft now that you have children and realize that even your own children can make stupid mistakes?
I don't think so. Maybe that's just a process of aging. I doubt it probably has much to do with the kids. The truth is that I think a lot of the Ben Shapiro Destroys videos, sometimes it's somebody being obnoxious and, I get irritable. But I would say the vast majority of the time, it's a fairly calm conversation where I just say something the other person really doesn't know how to deal with. That's sort of, I think, the kryptonite for debate is maintaining calm. And there have been times where I've lost it, and that's always a bad move. That's always a bad move.
I want to talk about that because, you're intellectually, bro, you're so fast at processing what you need to say next, and sharing the same field that you're in now. I'm like a baby, so now I'm just asking questions because I want to learn from you so I don't make the same mistakes. And I've learned that when I get emotional, I drill, and it's not from a good place, it's from a fear place. What is a good learning curve that got you away from being emotional, so that way, because what we want to do is we don't want to shatter our opponents, but more convince them to come on our playing side of the field, because we truly have faith that our side is the correct way. And how I kind of go about these things is how Jesus Christ did it. And it was very, give them the other cheek, forgive them. And through this, they'll see your fruits and want to come over here.
Although Jesus wasn't above overturning tables and being pretty harsh when he needed to be.
You know what? I've noticed that Jewish people always bring up that. It was one time. He was very forgiving. Forgive him.
I think that I mean, I'm not going to preach Christianity to Christians, but I think that
no, you know what? I think you do a really good job.
Frankly, I think that Christians should go to church and re-engage with their faith a lot. I think it's really, really important for the country. More people need to go to church. They need to re-engage with the New Testament, and I'm not a big fan of these. My business partner, Jeremy Boring, who's a lay pastor, he's very fond of saying that he doesn't really believe in sort of the hippie Jesus that
you do whatever you want
these days. Yeah, or he's coming to basically give you an emotional massage Jesus. That's not actually what he's doing. I mean, there's a lot of, even for a Jew, there's a lot of Old Testament resonances, obviously, in the New Testament, and much of what Jesus is saying, where he's chiding people for not taking care of the poor, for not taking care of the widows. That there's nothing really different than anything Jeremiah would have said, for example. And that's harsh stuff. I mean, that's not easy stuff. When it comes to debate and sort of the tack that you take, I would say it's strategic. There are times, again, when the person who I'm talking to is open to a conversation. It's very kind back and forth. I have a lot of these sorts of debates, right? There's one that I had recently with, say, Alex O'Connor, who is a philosophy PhD from Oxford about God. And that was a great back and forth. It wasn't there like, I'm there to destroy you or anything like that. Or even the debate that I did with Destiny with Lex Friedman. I mean, that one was pretty, I would say, polite. And then there are times where you are, debating somebody and you're on a stage, and the goal is not to convince the person on the stage. The goal is to convince the audience. And so exposing a bad view or pernicious view in a colorful way might be useful in that endeavor. So you sort of have to always know who your audience is and who you're talking to and what the goal of the conversation is. By the way, I think this is true for virtually all human conversation. I think people waste an enormous amount of time having conversations that honestly they shouldn't bother having, particularly online. Like they do that on X or they do that on Facebook, and it's like, is that time that you're going to want back on your deathbed? Are you going to look back and really think that was time well spent? So that's true of debate also. Like doing things with purpose is kind of, I think, the theme of my life very often. And whether it's with kids, with my wife, or whether it's with my business, or whether it's with debate. And so you really have to think through beforehand how it's going to go. And as you say, I think that losing your way emotionally, particularly the easiest thing to do is have your ego triggered. That's the easiest thing.
Yeah, ego's the different man now.
100%, that's the problem. And so I would say, if I look back at my history of confrontation, the times where I feel bad about how I performed, all of those would be, and they're pretty rare. But the big ones are times where my ego got tripped and I just got irritable and annoyed, and then you do something that in the moment feels good but is actually counterproductive.
Yeah. How do you deal with those moments, and does it stick with you? Does it hurt you? Because,
oh my gosh, years later. Yeah. I mean, I look back and I'm like, God, I wish I could have that one back. Absolutely.
Is there one in particular that you wish you could go?
Yeah, 100%. That BBC interview with Andrew Neil. So there's a BBC interview with Andrew Neil that I did. How long is this ago now? It was like 7 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, 5. I don't know. It's been a while.
What was the context around the?
So it was when Right Side History came out. So it was 2019, I believe. The context of that was that he invited me on to discuss a book that I wrote, and then he proceeded to ask me 0 questions about the book. For 20 minutes, he just sat and badgered me about tweets that I'd written 10 years before.
Oh, so it was a trap.
Yes, and I felt trapped, and I felt annoyed because I'd been trapped. And I kind of dealt with it for a while, and then